Hi guys, Samantha here and welcome back to another episode of Simtober, and today we are doing things a little bit differently. The theme for today is werewolves, and while I could have taken this super literal and actually just made a werewolf in CAS, part of the challenge is that you can do CAS items, or you could do build by mode items, or just build, well, that sounds crazy, do build items or do a CAS item, or actually sim or something like that. So I decided today to do a build. For some reason, I'm going like literally whenever I'm coming up with the ideas for these, I'm literally going first mind in like, what do I want to do? And for some reason, when I thought about werewolves, I thought about a cave, like a cavern, a cave. Maybe a werewolf family lives in there, you know, because they wouldn't live in regular houses, right? They would probably live somewhere like in a cave area, something like that. I envisioned it having like a water system. That sounds crazy. Why can't I talk today? Not a water system, but I'd imagine it be like an underground water thingy underneath there, like a pond of some sort. But I kind of wanted to give the idea that maybe it was a mountain that maybe got hollowed out, maybe into a cave, but I kind of like the idea of it just being a cave too. So anyway, I never really played with terrain tools, and I felt like this would be a really good opportunity for me to do so and actually have it where it's like inside of raised terrain, if that makes any sense. And also on top of that, kind of like playing around with these different rocks and stuff. I'll be honest with you guys, a good majority of the rocks and stuff I used were liberated items that we got, I want to say, from Brazen Lotus. Don't quote me on that though. I will try to make sure I include the information in the description box. Unfortunately, when I do things like this, I actually use the Sims 4 tray importer. I don't know if it does it for lots because I've never done it before, but I did use some CC rocks and also I want to say some CC foliage and stuff too for it, but if I'm not mistaken, it's all from the Brazen Lotus liberated stuff. It was stuff that was already in game, maybe in the background for Strangerville or something like that. And the Brazen Lotus creator was actually able to go through and actually make the items accessible for us. It's so weird because I know you guys have probably seen this before, where you legit will see items in the background in the Sims 4 worlds and you're like, where is that at? Why is it not in the debug menu? Why is it not here? So, but the funny thing is, I want to say a lot of the stuff that particular creator liberated, it was like the trailers from Get Famous, I think, that creator liberated too. I want to say that they eventually gave us that stuff in an update. I'm sure they probably heard us complaining about it. Like, why show us things in the background? And normally you could just go and debug and get those items that are not normally available just in build by mode. And then you could just get them from the debug menu. But yeah, for some reason, this particular time, they didn't do it. So anyway, long story short, if you guys want a link to the Brazen Lotus website, I'll pop it down in the description, but I'm going to have to see if I can get a link for every single thing I used. But you know how I am. I try my hardest, and hopefully you guys agree with me when I say this, to get you guys all of the CC or whatever it might be that you need. I think pretty much for the most part, whenever someone asks me, hey, where'd you get that hair from? Or where'd you get that dress from? Or whatever, if I see the comment, I mean, 10 times out of 10, I don't know if I've ever just been like, nah, I can't give it to you. I think I've always given it to people. I'm almost positive. And if I can't give it to you, like if the creator is gone or whatever, there has been times, which I know I'm probably not supposed to. Don't tell on me, guys. I'm telling you guys this because you're the only ones that really rock with me because you're watching this. But there are some times that I just send like the file because I'm like, I can't find it, but here's the file. Because a lot of times creators are just like leaving the community left and right, and it's kind of difficult because it's like because even it's so funny when you're looking for CC, just like browsing the web, and you'll see like the thumbnails, or you'll still see like the, not even the article, but just like the write-up for the CC. And then when you go look for it, it's like the link has been removed and you're like, no, but there still be like stuff out there talking about it. You might even come across videos, because I've had this happen before too. I came across a really old video where I can't remember what it was. It was a while back, but I remember going through the whole list. The person was nice enough, or kind enough rather, which is kind of what I like to do. So let me not put myself out there bad like that, but the person was definitely kind enough to link every single piece of CC that they had used. And I'm going through clicking the links, y'all, and I want to say out of the multitude of items that they advertised in that description, I maybe found 3 of the things. And it was for a build. I do remember that. It was for a build. And I was so disappointed. I ended up not even downloading the build afterwards because I was like, I'm going to miss like a good 90% of the stuff because it's no longer available. So it gets kind of discouraging when you like have it in your mind that you want to have something and you see something and you want it exactly like how it's presented to you. Then when you try to go get it, it's gone. Anyway, back to the whole situation. With this build, I think I kind of explained it already. I definitely wanted to build. I just envisioned like it'd be someplace that maybe high schoolers would go venture off to. Like they would maybe skip school and be like, we're going to the caverns. And then they would go over here and maybe something tragic would happen. Maybe something crazy would happen. I don't even know. But essentially it could be someplace where werewolves, like a family of werewolves used to live, and maybe they left for a reason. I kind of was playing in my mind with some ideas of why a family of werewolves would leave maybe this particular area, because as you guys can probably tell, I built it in, what's the name of the vampire area? I can't remember the name of the vampire area, but if you have the vampire pack, I actually put it on the empty lot. No, it was not an empty lot. There was a house there, but there's no one living in the house right now. As a matter of fact, inside the house, I kind of went in there just to go see what it was about. It had a whole bunch of garlic and stuff all over the place. I was envisioning like probably the person that they had thought would live there would be somebody that wanted to live in the area, but they wanted to keep the vampires at bay because there was garlic all over the house, but I can't remember the name. Oh, actually, it was called there you go, right there. Garlic Altar Place. I don't even know. I'm looking at the screen right now like that's the name of it right there. I have no idea what it was called. Anyway, long story short, I'm moving my mic back, sorry. Maybe anyway, I put it over there, but maybe there was werewolves that were over there, and maybe the people that live there kind of ran them out of town, like we don't want you guys here. I can envision, as a matter of fact, if you guys remember the movie Twilight, wasn't there a situation where there was werewolves and vampires and they just did, well, no, I'm saying where there was a situation, like there was a situation. I used to watch Twilight all the doggone time, but there was a situation where the werewolves did not like the vampires, and maybe people were getting bitten and they didn't have like an explanation for it. And so people were blaming the werewolves when all the while it probably was the vampires. But because vampires look like people for the most part, they look like humans for the most part. I can envision people will probably be like, oh, that couldn't have been the Vatatorre family or whatever family. I don't know, like some vampire family. It couldn't be the Cullens because they're humans. They look just like us. But these werewolves, they look totally different. Probably was them. And they have the teeth for it. And the teeth look like it matched the teeth of the bite marks on your body. So maybe they ran them out of town. And so they no longer are inhabiting. Is that the proper way to say that? They're no longer living in this hollowed out cavern. And I wanted to put like originally, which I have no idea how to do this. If I could figure it out eventually, which there is a handful of things that if I was to rebuild this, I would do things totally different. But I wish that there was a way. My plan was to have it be completely hollowed out, have posts all throughout it, and having beams going across the top to make it look like that was keeping the rocks from falling down. Like there was a little bit of a structure in there. But the more I kept trying to put those beams and the more I was trying to put the rocks and stuff down, it ended up being so difficult when you're trying to build something like this and you're in regular build mode. A lot of times, which you'll see later on in the build, a lot of times the camera will bounce up while I was trying to place things. So I couldn't get like good angles to kind of see where I was putting stuff at. In order to put like those little cross wooden beams, unless you find some CC, which I haven't looked for any yet, but unless you find like some CC that's just like wood beams going across, it's virtually impossible to just to put them up. You have to almost put a wall just like I did, and then change that wall to one of those little beam thingies, and then kind of like build around it. So technically that is a walkway slash wall. I guess if you wanted to, yeah, I don't know any other way you could do it, but that was my plan, was to have a whole bunch of series of these like little paths that were blocked with wood planks, wood beams, and wood supports going across the top. And yeah, I couldn't work it out. Another thing I'd probably do if I was to do this again, which I am contemplating doing it again because I really liked how it looked when it came. When I was done with it, y'all, I really, really liked it. But unfortunately, when I went to go play test it, it was raining. So you would think it's a bunch of rocks. The rain should be cover for the rocks. But because it wasn't technically a roof or there was technically no ceiling, the rain was coming through the rocks. And so the Sims that I kind of like played with to go in there, they were getting soaked and rained. I want to say, yeah, the guy, it's Travis, I think. It was that family with Travis and the girls or whatever. He actually ended up getting electrocuted during the whole ordeal of them sitting inside. They were sitting inside and he got electrocuted. So I was a little bit disappointed by the fact that I didn't think about the fact that the weather might affect the interiors of the cavern. I wanted it to be like a secure place. Like if someone really wanted to live in there, they could really live in there. Like if it was a real werewolf family, they could actually live in there. So yeah, I was a little bit disappointed that I didn't think about that ahead of time. So anyway, if I was to redo it, I would probably build like an actual house. Probably get rid of all the walls, put these little wooden beam structure thingies all throughout it, and then build the rock. I probably wouldn't even use terrain. And when I mean terrain, I mean like the little healy thingies you can make. I probably wouldn't even use that. The funny thing is, I think the reason why I focused on using that so much is because I really wanted to play with it. Because literally, I don't even know when we got that update at this point. However many months, or it might have even been a year at this point. I don't know when we got it, but I have literally never messed with it. I think when we first got it, the update, I kind of played around with it just to kind of see, oh, let me see what this is. But I never really actually made like a physical build with it. So I really was dead set on, when I make this, I'm going to build up everything in this around it and hollow out the center, which is regular ground, and then just put rocks and stuff around it to make it look like a rocky thing. So one of the challenges with doing it like that, I mean, besides the fact you can't really put walls or whatever in there, as soon as you put a wall up against it, and I'm sure I had move objects. So yeah, I had move objects on because I was placing rocks and stuff all over the place. But the more you put like a wall up against it, it would push the whatever you had built up, whatever world you had built up right there, it push it back. So I could never get like, which is part of the reason why I had a problem too, putting beams throughout there, is because I could never get like a solid round. Like I wanted to envelop, yeah, whatever term, however you say it. I wanted it to kind of like get into the wall and get into the rocks and get into, and I couldn't create that. And then the more I would try to get in the inside of it to make it so I could see where I was doing it and try to get it as close as possible, the camera would bounce back up and it was just like pure torture. I don't remember how long it took me to make this build, but I did it over a series of 2.5 days, I want to say, because I had been working on it little by little. You're going to see the actual camera jump around a couple bits because I want to say this was like 5 different videos I squashed into one, but I don't remember how long time wise, like hour wise, it took. And it wasn't because it was a hard build, because it's not. It was more so of how can I make this look as realistic as possible, and how can I make it work for me with the constraints. Maybe I used too small of a lot. I want to say this is a 20 by 30. The funny thing is, originally I wanted to use a 20 by 15, but I couldn't find, there's no 20 by 15s in this particular area. So I ended up going with a 20 by 30, I think. But anyway, so here I am just building up the rocks and stuff. I'm going to skip ahead probably here in a second because I got to the point where it was such a tedious process trying to make sure that I had rocks on top to hollow it out. But another challenge I came across doing the terrain is when you go to do the paint, I keep calling it terrain. I hope that's what it's called. You know what? My game is up right here right now. Let me see what exactly it's called, because it is called, what is it called? Terrain manipulation. Okay, so the same thing. So when I'm doing the terrain manipulation, and there is no way to actually paint the area that you've manipulated, for lack of a better word. So it creates this little rocky structure, as you guys can kind of see. But if you ever wanted to make it match the rocks or the stuff around the edges, you can't paint it. Like, you're going to see me grab and paint, trying to go back and forth just to double check. You can't paint it. So that's the color that it looks no matter what. So if you're kind of anal or kind of a stickler about colors or making things look cohesive and matchy, unfortunately, doing the rocks, especially because some of the rocks I used were different colors, and no matter how I messed with the swatches, I couldn't get the colors to match. And the funny thing is I've seen people complain about swatch colors not matching in the game. You know how you might get like a wooden table and then you'll go get that same wooden, or what you would think would be that same wooden color on like a side table, or I don't know, something else that you want to complement that coffee table with, and you'll go in there and the woods don't match. It was like that with the rocks. A lot of the rocks did not match. And I was like, why? Like, why is this rock so gray? And then the other ones are kind of algae brownish. Now, I know some of them were CC, but I noticed it with some of the ones that weren't even CC. And so it was kind of frustrating because I was like, these rocks don't even look like they'd be in the same body of rocks, if that makes any sense. So I live around a lot of mountains. So if I wanted to, like make it where, you know, I've seen mountains, basically. I've seen hills, I've seen mountains, and a lot of them look cohesive. They look like one big structure. Unfortunately, as I was messing with this and kind of playing around with the rocks and everything, like that gray rock in the middle, it did not match the rocks on the outside, but it was the only one that could give me that high mountain peak type look. So I stuck with it. But even when I tried to change the swatch color, I couldn't get one to match it at all. So it was a little bit disappointing. I absolutely love how this water came out. The only thing I was disappointed about it was I made it a fountain, and I should have made it like a lake or a pond. I think I made it a fountain. And I should have made it, I should have made it a lake. I mean, something that they could actually swim in. I assumed that they would still be able to swim in it, but it'd be like murky and dirty, but it's actually just like a fountain. So that'd be another thing I'd do differently. So this video is going to be full of problems I had with this build and things I would do differently with it. But anyway, this area that I'm working on right now is kind of like a little loungy area. Like I said, had it been a little bit bigger, I would have probably, had I been on a bigger lot, I probably would have had tunnels. Maybe I would have had like an area where the Sims could have had like a bedroom. You know, like maybe like a tunnel that's going down like another part of the mountain. What would have been really cool is if I could have made like a basement, but not really a basement, but make it look like you're going underneath a certain point and put like beds and stuff down there. Because if it's a werewolf family, I would imagine they would still need to sleep, but they kind of rough it and they live in the wild, you know, so to speak. But anyway, so I tried to put as much as I can over here for like your needs or whatever. So of course there's the fire for the warmth. There's a cooler if they want to grab food or put food in there. Of course, there's the woohoo bush for woohoo, and then also for relieving your needs if necessary. Okay, y'all, this is where I was trying to make those little posts and stuff. And you're going to see that camera is bouncing around like crazy. Do you see it? And I was like, I just want to put these posts down here. And the camera kept bouncing up like, oh, I'm sorry if I'm making you dizzy right now because I was so disappointed. And I was like, well, can I just at least get a beam and just kind of recreate it? And it looked stupid. I was trying to get shelving. I was trying to get whatever I could just like make it big because that's how I wanted it to look. And it just did not look like that. Oh my gosh. The more I'm looking at this, I was so frustrated, y'all. Like you see me right now. I'm just like, nah, there's got to be a way I can create this. Because in my head, that's how I had envisioned it. And then I was trying to put this wall back, and then I was like, well, maybe I'll do it like this, and then we'll do it like that. But then I couldn't get rid of that little bottom piece. It was and then with all the bouncing up and stuff, it was just a hot mess. I was trying whatever I could, y'all. So then I just ended up giving up, and I was just like, you know what? You live and you learn. So will I do this again? Absolutely. Will I use this one? I don't know. Will I use the next one if I do another one? I have no clue. But I really like the idea of it. So maybe it could be like a park or something that you could use that they've actually, look, I put the beware sign out. Like beware. Like I can imagine that they probably, once the family moved out, they probably condemned it and said, don't go in here. Maybe I could have put some of those little hazard signs like don't go in there. But you know, people will be nosy and they'll go in there anyway. At least that's what I had envisioned would happen. But anyway, so that little loungy area, like I said, is like where they could sit, talk, play around the campfire. They could cook, hang out. You know, of course, the bathroom's right there. They just can't take a shower. I played around with the idea of putting a shower in there, but I was like, like where would I put it? And that's when I realized that had I picked a bigger lot, I probably would have had a series of tunnels where it could have went to different little areas of the build, and maybe one area would have a bathroom, like an actual functioning bathroom. The other area would have a bedroom, you know, stuff like that. But here I'm just putting some leaves and foliage and stuff. But yeah, y'all, just trying to get in those little corners. Like if there was a situation where you could build in tab mode and you could move that camera around freely, oh my gosh, that would have made this so much easier. But every time I was like trying to place things, and maybe I should have just put everything down first and then put like my rocks and stuff. But I kind of was like envisioning what it would look like as I went. So I did a lot of back and forth. I went from doing like putting rocks to not putting rocks to putting rocks, not putting rocks. Because I didn't want to go through the point of like doing so much on the inside and then committing to putting these rocks and then realizing that it looked a hot mess. And then another thing I had to be concerned about too is like, even though I was layering these rocks, I'm literally sizing them up, sizing them down. I'm lifting them up, you know, placing them here, alting them, like kind of sliding them and dragging them here and there. I needed to make sure there was not an ounce of light coming through the rocks, because every once in a while there'd be like a little sliver of a little space in between the rock and the other rock. And so, you know, it just got to the point where I was just trying to make sure. I do like how it came out in the long run. I just wish that I would have planned it better. Like, had I ever done anything like this before, you know, I would have definitely done the actual build of a house, of a structure, and then just got rid of the walls and just kept the beams and then put the rocks and stuff around it. I would not have messed with the terrain stuff because that was a hot mess. So I'm just trying to put some foliage and stuff around the rocks and trying to make it look a little bit more finished. I wish I could have painted the terrain that I manipulated to make it match the rocks, but I couldn't. So I don't know. I hope you guys like it anyway. I'll pop it up in the gallery. If you have any more suggestions on how I could have handled it. Look, that's me trying to paint it again. I was like, well, let me just double check I can't paint this because this looks crazy. And yeah, I couldn't. But y'all, after you've spent like 2.5 days working on this, it is what it is. But I love the lighting. I got some spider webs all throughout there. But see, as you guys can see, it's raining and the raining is coming through. I love how the waterfall looks right here, and the water got like the little murky, muddy look to it. And I love the foliage and stuff around it. I put some lights around it just to like have it look like if someone lived there, that they actually made it livable, like you could actually see and stuff in there. And you know, I don't know, I was just thinking like it was kind of cool in that little area over here. And of course, like I said, this is probably where I would probably make like another tunnel going to the back, having like some bedding or something like that, and then a little sitting area over here for your Sims to kind of enjoy. I just hate that the rain is coming through, but anyway, it'll be up on the gallery. Hopefully you guys enjoy. Let me know what you think down in the comment box down below, and let me know what you would do differently if you had a chance to do anything differently with it. If you need help finding the CC, I will put the link for Brazen Lotus in the description. I think that was pretty much everywhere I got, or pretty much where I got everything from, if that makes any sense. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye.